Round of questions. I'm not sure if I can see at the back. Number 1 from the Sunday Times, number 2 from the SABC. I only see number 3, Inside Factor. Number 4, Jamie. Is there number 5? It's number 5, Sid. Let's take those first 5 questions now. Number 1. Let's switch the mic on. Sound, we need this mic switched on.
Okay, well, let me just go for it. Good afternoon, my name is Mawande from Sunday Times. Thank you very much for the invite to the EFF. In terms of your view and analysis at a leadership level, what do you think the EFF could have differently? And also, in terms of the growth itself, as you say, it was about 1.1 million in 2014. I think now it's just before 2 million, if I'm not mistaken, as per the last 2021 local government elections. Are you really satisfied with that kind of growth? And do you believe on those that pundits that suggest that the EFF might have reached its ceiling when they analyze the growth between 2014 and 2021? Thank you very much.
Number 2.
Good day, everybody. It's Natasha. Hi, everybody. It's Natasha Puri here from SABC News. Just as a follow-up to my colleague Mawande's question, Mr. Malema, you've highlighted the positives of the party over the last 10 years. But what are the negatives of the party? And as a party that's 10 years old, what have you learned over the past decade? The second question, but please, I just need a comment in regards to this. Just your reaction on President Cyril Ramaphosa saying that he's not liable for the failure to supply electricity. Thank you.
Number 3.
Mudiba here from the Inside Factor. Just to find out from the leadership, when the party was formed, especially for mainstream media, you were called Teletubbies, you were called all sorts of names. I just want to find out the reflection of when you see how the media portrays you now compared to 10 years ago. Just your thoughts regarding that. Thank you.
Number 4. Just raise your hand.
My question is about the march specifically. Some have said that it's undemocratic to have a unilateral or a mono-party march, and wouldn't it have been better to have multiple entities, multiple civic organizations participating in the march to give it credibility? I wonder what the thoughts of leadership are around that.
Number 5, it's over there, see.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Tidi Madia from Eyewitness News. He actually asked a question quite similar to what I was thinking. Can I ask for your reflections on your relationship with the media over the past 10 years? I, funny enough, wasn't even thinking about Teletubbies. I was actually thinking there was a time when the media really loved you and you loved it. And that relationship has been tested time immemorial. Just your thoughts. And as you reflect on it, please also speak to what we saw this past week where Mqini Traku, the then EFF councillor, is a councillor in the city of Johannesburg and serves the citizens of the city. He refused to speak to an ENCA journalist. So I want you to also take that into consideration when you reflect on it. Secondly, Julius, I'm thinking back to 2019 when you're going to a conference and you said, the negative that happens with the EFF sits on your shoulders. It is Julius Malema who then gets slated. I just want you to also reflect on you as an individual at the helm of the party. Do you think that the attempt to have South Africans see the EFF beyond just an individual has actually evolved in any way? Thank you.
Thank you, President.
I don't know if this thing works. Oh, you must tell us that this thing is on so that when we gossip here. It doesn't come out, and then we are caught with the DP saying wrong things here. Well, the growth of the party, it's a continuous work that cannot be concluded anytime soon. It's permanent. So to grow it from strength to strength really depends on its continuous groundwork. And therefore you can't say there is something that we could have done differently, except that we have been on the ground and tried to build a strong organization. So there is really nothing different can be done in terms of mass work, except that you have to be on the ground and respond to the needs of the people and attend to their daily issues. So let's take, for instance, on the by-elections of the IEC and local government elections. The biggest problem of the EFF is its candidates. So it chooses people who are not known for community work. They start loving communities and their people the day they get chosen to be candidates for that ward. And therefore they lose, and they lose hopelessly, because the EFF must have the capacity to identify from amongst members of the community influential people who are loved by community, who contribute in the community. So let's take Mahoniso, where the deputy president comes from, for instance. You may find that in the whole village, there's only one vehicle, and that's a buggy. And that buggy is owned by a principal of the school. That principal is loved by everybody there because the sick, the pregnant women, when it's time to deliver, they woke him at night, he takes them to the hospital. Those who try to move, those who look for, bursaries and advice, this man is involved with this community. Why can't the EFF go and recruit that person to be a candidate if you don't have a problem of self-seeking individuals who know that if we're to walk inside this voting station, for instance, it's me and my wife, I'm going to get one vote, even if I entered with my wife. Just the two of us. If there are two voters in this voting station, it's me and my wife. Our EFF is going to get one. Because my wife doesn't believe that I can be a leader. So why do I think I can lead people? So we have a problem of identifying proper candidates that loves their people and that are involved in their people. In their community work. The other issue that we need to deal with, they are low-hanging fruits in communities that the EFF can capitalize on. So they don't do it. Let's take, for instance, the Andries Tatane campaign. You want to talk about removing an incompetent councillor of the ANC as the EFF branch. But there is an illegal dumping area that you pass every day. And even dead dogs get dropped there, and they are smelling and putting the lives of our people at risk and their health. But you pass that place every day. You don't do anything about it. You are only going to clean that illegal dumping the day you get chosen as a candidate of the EFF. Why can't the EFF branch, without an election, do a community work? I've been to a lot of townships where when it rains, the water drainage system is blocked, and as a result, the streets are flooded, even when there are no floods. When you go at the end of that water drainage system, it is blocked because people are dumping where the water must come out. All you need is a TLB to reopen that water drainage system to allow the water to flow. Makudu will know, when we grew up in Sishiu, there was a place called Scotty Paula. So Scotty Paula, all of this drainage system landed the Scotty Paula, then the Scotty Paula gives direction of where the water must go. If that place gets blocked, you are likely to have the whole township under floods. The EFF person sees that and he doesn't engage in any program to resolve such a simple problem confronted by communities. So that's number one. Number two is that, which is good and not good at the same time, is that we have attracted new participants in politics. Majority of the people you find at the branch of the EFF, at the region, at the province, and to a particular extent at national level, have come to be in contact with politics for the first time with the EFF. And the media makes a wrong assumption that actually the EFF has come with Youth League or ANC people. But if you are to conduct a proper research, you'll realize that these people became attracted to politics for the first time with the EFF. And therefore, it will take a considerable time for them to come to appreciate both leadership and politics. That's why this year we said we ought to transfer that quantity into quality. Because it's no use having so many members and they have no clear understanding and articulation of what you represent, except that we want to remove the ANC councillor or we want to remove the government of the ANC, and after removing it, what must happen? No one can articulate that. And when you are new in politics, and when you are new to leadership responsibilities, the first thing that will make you grow is to accept that you are new, which they do not accept, and want to behave like they have been in leadership positions for the rest of their time. But you may find that a person has never been a treasurer of a burial society. You know how difficult that duty is of being a treasurer of a burial society. Or they say to you, this money must be banked on Monday. And then one of them by Monday checks with you by mistake, or did you manage to bank? And you didn't, you say, no, I had problems, so I'll go tomorrow. All members of the burial society will know that money was not banked on Monday. We're now panga chelete late. It's a big problem. They don't care whether the money is banked or not. You banked it late. You have never been anything of that sort. Instead of coming to accept that I'm learning, you want to behave like you know. And then as a result, these things collapse in your hands. But majority of this negativity and things that we could have done differently and we have not done them differently, we leave it to society to judge because we give it our best. The EFF has grown. There is no organization. You can go anywhere you want to go in the history of political parties in South Africa. No party has ever done what this organization has done. Not even the ANC. Most of you don't know that actually the ANC at some point was dead. It had less than 1,000 members. I think it was before the adoption of the radical program of action. That adoption of the radical program of action was in a way trying to revive the dead ANC. The PAC, which is what the leadership of the EFF must learn from the PAC. What killed it from inception was factionalism. Immediately the PAC was formed, it became factional. The same year it went to a conference When Sibuko was elected, there was a parallel group already leaving the PAC to go and form their own organization. So the leadership of the EFF must refuse by all attempt to engage in factional activities, because those things will kill the organization. So the EFF has not been subjected to that. That's a growth on its own, that you form an organization and it doesn't experience factionalism for the past 10 years. How do you do that? You become confrontational. You always say, what is this now? Where do you find this in what we are trying to do? Become honest with each other and not be pretentious to the detriment of the organization because you want to be liked by those you lead with. Always be honest with each other, and when things are not the way you planned them, when you do an assessment, tell each other that this is not what we have envisaged and it didn't come out the way we expected it to come out. That's how you grow an organization, and that's how you sustain it for 10 years without a hassle. There's a big problem coming for the EFF, by the way, is this story of governance, of getting into governance. You see some trail of uncontrollable interest in areas where the EFF has got potential to govern. You see the leadership developing uncontrollable appetite. It's a new challenge that we'll have to grapple with, because literature teaches us that you'll have problems of sins of incumbency. So since of not experience being incumbent in government, it's going to be a new thing now. How do you make sure that you don't make the same mistakes the ANC has made? I had a huge debate, and I thought I was articulating the EFF policy when I said, when I was given a list of MMCs, and I said, but this one does not have metric, and therefore we can't deploy this one who doesn't have metric. And there was a huge fight that, no, a metric doesn't mean leadership, and then all of that. And I said, we have a problem today because of the ANC deployment policy. The problem is not that policy per se, it's deploying unqualified people. Unqualified people to lead. One of them that we interviewed, who wanted to be an MMC of JMPD, was saying JMPD is Johannesburg Department of something, some unrelated. This is a councillor who's in council. And we must allow that. You cannot replace a tendency with the same tendency. You want to become a better government, you're going to have to look for the best amongst yourself to lead. That's why a doctor has been withdrawn from National Parliament to go and become an MMC, because he will not have a difficulty with reading and familiarizing himself with what is transpiring in those municipalities. So if we are to give our people quality government, it starts with ourselves. And we said this 10 years ago. People refuse to listen. We said in meetings that, guys, when we look for municipal managers, when we look for technical service managers, we're going to look amongst yourself. The best favor you can do for yourself now is to go to school. 10 years. People refuse to go to school. Those things that you told them they thought you were dreaming are now becoming a reality, and they're shocked when you say, no, you can't go in because you don't have papers. We must never compromise when it comes to the type of deployment we make to public service. Otherwise, we are going to be another ANC, which takes a teacher of geography and history to go and head the technical services, and he must read those engineers' plans, and he's got no idea what are those things talking about. As a result, today, There is a sewer spillage everywhere in South Africa. There is floods that are avoidable everywhere in South Africa because quality was not given a priority. So we ought to deal with that problem now, because in Ekurhuleni we are going to have more MMCs. In Mogale City we are going to have MMCs. In the Western District we are going to have MMCs. In Metsimahulu there are a lot many others, including in Nongom. Leave those things of IFP, of dancing and doing all manner of things. It's just a matter of time, Shem. They are just doing what is unavoidable. I told this ones in Ekurhuleni, and I told many others, when they get excited and say we're removing, we're going in, and want to take a shortcut, I said, we're not rushing anywhere. Don't undermine the laws because you say you've got majority. Follow every small piece of legislation, you will get what you want. That's what happened in Nongom. Excitement, and then whether those people like it of the IP or not, they must call a council meeting. Whether they're going to call it in December or in January next year, there's no problem. The meeting will be called and they will be removed. And the judge will not be there. It will only be us. Said to them here in Ekurhuleni, this thing of removing a speaker and putting the CM, they said there is a new act that was passed, we're following that. I said, are you sure? They said yes. The court dismissed them. I said to them, I told you, why are you in a hurry? If indeed it's not about you, it's about the people, why are you in a hurry? Followed every piece of legislation, they removed the speaker. We have an acting speaker because the IEC was not there to preside over the election of the speaker. But after that, the mayor is going, we're going to get MMCs. But we have to look amongst the people who are in Ekurhuleni. If they've got the best qualification to can turn that municipality around. And that's what we need to do. I don't understand why would an ANC councillor on daily basis, I mean, South Africa should know this. When we went to Sebokeng to go and do a cleanup campaign in Sebokeng, right? We're launching our campaign on Saturday. On Friday, the council of the ANC arrived with tipper trucks and TLBs to clean a place I was going to clean. What does it mean? It doesn't mean they don't have capacity to do it. Why are you only going when Julius is going there? You have seen this throughout. What is this? I will not be happy to see a council of the EFF that passes every day a pothole and not even take an initiative. I mean, the MMC of public safety here in Johannesburg was deployed in Skukuni when we were rebuilding the EFF. He ended up buying some tar there to go and patch potholes as part of his program. He was deployed EFF work, but he realized there are too many problems here of potholes. He said, let's introduce a program of patching potholes. You don't have to wait to be in government. That's why he qualifies to be the MMC, because he's got an idea of what needs to happen. Why would the ANC councillor every day pass this, not anywhere, in front of your house and have no problem with it? I've never seen that level of craziness in my entire life. And we can't have the EFF councillors behaving in the same manner. The reason why we are calling for the removal of the president is because, guys, the president has resigned. And you all know that. President wrote a letter. The people who work with him, the people who typed his speech, told me it's done, Chief. We're done. We're just waiting for the time to call a press conference. It's done. Until a faction went to persuade him the same day not to resign. His conscience has concluded that he doesn't have what it takes to be a president. The body might be there. The guy is gone. He wrote, Cyril, if we're to conduct the raid now in his offices or homes, we're going to find a resignation letter. You have a president who's there by body, but the soul is gone. It's not there. That's why he tells you it's not my responsibility to give you electricity. He tells you tomorrow 18% ESCOM is increasing. The rates are going up. He said his hands were tied. When you made noise, he said, oh, he untied himself and said, I'm going to intervene, and pretended to be doing something. The reality is that increase is kicking in tomorrow the same time as petrol. Sisekake. We're in big trouble. Nothing is coming right. And nothing will ever come right. Because apparently, Gwenda's wife says this thing is run from her house. Gwenda's wife is embedded in ESCOM. She has been doing business there, and I will not be shocked if the minister they are referring to is Gwede. I won't be shocked. Gwenda's wife participates actively in the negotiations of business deals. And Gwede is the one who made Cyril the president. And by that, disarming him from being a powerful president. All this Minister of Electricity and all of that is to try and show Gwede or no, I still have got some power, but in terms of numbers, South Africa is run by a faction called Chrisan faction. Of these people who come from Chrisan region, original in the Eastern Cape. They are the people who have put us in this mess. Cyril doesn't run this thing. They are the ones who went to tell him, by the way, don't resign. He hates Pravin today. They are not in good terms because Pravin was amongst those who said to him, Baba, there is nothing we can do. You have to resign. And then the faction went and said, don't resign. That's why we are where we are. He will never take responsibility. Our relationship with the media is complementary and confrontational. It's as simple as that. Where we think we are being covered unfairly, we'll confront the media and say this is unacceptable. Where work is done in a professional manner, we always compliment. I mean, even on matters that were not involved, Tolu was saying people are urinating, what? I called him, I said, why use such language? As a professional journalist, not because he's the best of my friend, but it's a person I know, professional, and I can call on him, he can call on me. There is a guy called Mushwasho Mnaring, I don't know if he still is here. I said I must invite him. We have this relationship, me and him, from long time ago, where he thinks I've taken a wrong post on the media, he calls without hesitation. I don't know why Makuru doesn't do it, because we come from the same township. Where we say, he calls and says, no, but this one it's wrong. And then I will push my line and say, this is where I come from. And we agree to disagree. But we are no enemies. CD opened my wallet. My wife was so angry, wanted her address. I said, leave her. The ancestors will solve her for opening their wallet. Which politician do you open the wallet of and declare such a politician a hostile politician? Which politician have you ever interviewed so many times without restriction and anything of that sort in South Africa if it's not Julius Malema? Have access, question anything you wanted to question. I've never said no. And then you come and say, what is your relationship with the media then and now? I've always been very open. And that's the EFF policy, where we communicate honestly and truthfully. When we said the IFP is trying to kill the SG in KZN, spokesperson communicates, then the police said, no, there is no such a thing, it's not true. The spokesperson comes back worried that the police are denying. Why is he worried? he knows we don't communicate a lie. It's not our policy to communicate a lie, to spin things. Say them the way they are. And when you are wrong, apologize and move on. That's our relationship with the media. Now, Tidi wants to talk about the ENCA. That thing they did in Johannesburg, it's wrong, by the way. Because when Parliament finishes, State of the Nation DP, and we speak, and we see an ENCA mic, we never chase them away. Because that's not an event of the EFF. It's Parliament. We're on the grounds of Parliament. So if the ENCA was chased away from interviewing an MMC of safety, it's wrong. And the MMC, by the way, can go to ENCA and even do interviews. He's not an MMC of the EFF. He said, it's those things of government he chose to be. So let him answer to ENCA, because those are different platforms from which government have to account to our people. So I don't know what happened, because even the campaign, DP, was not an EFF campaign. It was a purely government campaign. So the two must never be confused. There must be separation at all times. But the ENCA chose not to be involved with the EFF. And you guys want to put it the other way, different. The ENCA picked up its microphones and cameras and left. They've never done that to the most racist, to the most murderers, to the most dangerous people in society. They've never done that. It was only done to the EFF. They left, they walked away. Today, yeah, but what you are doing to ENCA, it's wrong. No, it's not us. We've had robust and heated debates with journalists of this country. From when we're young until now, they've never walked out on us. I asked myself, what happened that necessitated such a drastic measure? And what did they do? They tried to mobilize other journalists, who themselves said, no, we're not going anywhere, we're remaining. Because they realized there was no reason to walk away in the EFF press conference. So our relationship with the media is very perfect. We won't be liked by South African media. Huh? What is that ownership of Sunday Times and Soweto and the company? No, Tsepo's company. Lefasi. It's not, Lebashe. Apparently Lebashe is Praveen. Yes. Because remember, Lebashe has got that former deputy minister of finance, Jabu Mleketi. And Jabu Mleketi sits in Remgro. So you expect Sunday Times to like us? It will never like us. And the same goes to all those medias that are owned by white capital. You know it. It's a reality. So, and we're not shocked, because we can't march to Stellenbosch and expect Sunday Times to write good about us after we march to Stellenbosch. Never. Why has Lebashe owned papers never gone so hard on Praveen? Because Praveen has failed in all respect. It doesn't matter how you want to defend him. But if these are the signs that shows this guy is really an owner of these papers. He has failed in all respect. There is nothing personal about it. He has failed. He hasn't gotten anything right. Ferial says no, prosecution has improved, the Hawks have improved, SARS has improved, and all of that. If that is true, why has there not been any movement on Ramaphosa? He says no, Ramaphosa has liberated this from capture of Zuma. Why is the Reserve Bank unable to just announce that Ramaphosa did not announce the dollars? How can they wrote him a letter. Did we share that letter with the media? The Reserve Bank wrote Ramaphosa a letter and said, we hear about these dollars, can you explain where they come from and what was their purpose? Which in a way is an acknowledgement that they don't have a file of those dollars. Why is he not charged? If indeed the Hawks, the NPA and all of that has been liberated, it's not true. Capture has just changed hands. From this capture to that capture. That's what we are subjected to. The EFF has made a call on the 20th of March as an independent organization that there is a national shutdown. Every political party, every non-governmental organization, any form can join the march. Remember when we marched for Zuma's removal and all of that, pronouncements were made, and we individually made our own pronouncements that will be joining those activities. Black and white, those mamas who were singing Zumamas for, if they are still alive, they must come. They are more than welcome. There is no any EFF person who will have a problem with any flag of any kind except Afir Forum type. But black, white, Indian colors, all of them, South Africans, it's your march. It can't be called a national shutdown if it's partisan. So, and we are in consultation with different formations. We're in consultation with the taxis. We have just met the SAF2 leadership. We're meeting other different NGOs to say, let's come together and do the right thing. So I agree, it's a march for everyone, but it can't be termed undemocratic. Because under our democracy, everybody has got a right to make his or her own political determination. And we have made that political determination, but everybody is welcome to join. There is a research, by the way, which we conducted internally in the EFF by Ipsos. When we met in this plenum, it announced that the EFF is now more popular than Malema, which is what we've all been fighting for, that the party must have its own identity beyond an individual. So that research is there, that confirmed that yes, Malema was there when we came to make a presentation before. Today, we are pleased to announce that the EFF has surpassed Malema now. It's more popular than Malema. The same research tells us that you may not be there, but is it 49% SG of women? You were lower before. It was 60-40 before. You have now moved. You've got 49% more women supporting the EFF. Is still not enough, but you are not where you were before. So we conduct research from time to time, and I can tell you now, it is no longer Malema. It is the EFF. The only person who's obsessed with Malema is that Fikile Mbalula. Every time he opens his mouth, Malema this, Malema that, Malema the. When you ask him a question, the EFF says he's going to do a shutdown on the 20th of March. Yeah, Malema can do that. Even. Munona problem now ruwa gafana. So Gimudijor Atovelas Faneses issues. Because otherwise I'm going to come very hard on him. He must leave my surname and focus on EFF. The EFF speaks about the ANC if it wants to, and then instead of saying EFF, he keeps on Malema, and is pronouncing it wrong. Malema. So otherwise, everybody now knows that if there is an issue, the EFF made a pronouncement, we deal with the EFF. So we've gone beyond that, of Malema being the person who is carrying the EFF instead of the EFF carrying Malema and the rest of the members. And that is good news to us. So today, seated here 10 years down the line, the organization has assumed a life of its own. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, President.
You switched off that icon forever now.
We can switch it on. We'll take the second and the last round. I see hands there. I see Lucanio. 1, 2, Tando. 3, next to you, I can't see clearly. 4, Lizega. 5. 6 will be the last person. So let's get the roving mic that side.
Take the hand.
No, you are being impatient today. So
Yes.
this guy is taking 5 hands at a time.
Sure.
Why here with the media?
He said the last round.
Oh, no.
I want wrong.
Sure. So I've noted 6.
They must be the ones who say they are tired.
Sure. No problem, President.
We don't have a problem.
Okay, I've noted 6 hands. Number 1, 7.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Lucanio Talad, politics editor for Newsroom Africa. Mr. Malema, I'm wondering around the issue of the July 26 and how the EFF is obviously modeled on the July 26 movement. Now, that movement started because there were people within Cuba that were not happy with the status quo at the time. And they eventually took up arms to liberate a country that was under a dictatorship. Now, you've spoken here about how you wanted to follow the footsteps of the EFF when it launched 10 years ago. So that tells me that clearly there's a historical significance. But is the EFF prepared to go all the way in realizing the ambitions of the July 26 movement? We see the African National Congress at the moment and how it's governing the country. The president, as you've said, must resign. What happens if he doesn't resign? The status quo continues along with the African National Congress. So my question really is, are you really, as the EFF, how far are you prepared to push and to emulate the July 26 movement? Or is it just by name? Thank you, sir.
Afternoon, my name is Tando Maeko from the Business Day. Now, the EFF candidates have recently entered into higher structures of leadership in local government, for example, MCs and recently deputy mayors in some municipalities. This was partly... Really? You can't see me? You can't see me? Oh, hi. Did you hear the first part of the question? All right, I said the EFF candidates have recently entered into higher structures of leadership in local government, for example, MMCs and recently deputy mayors in some municipalities. This was, however, partly as a result of horse trading between the EFF and other parties, and not necessarily because the party has won over their electorate in its majority. This is ahead of next year's election, as the party seeks to be viewed, amongst others, as a party of governance and not the opposition. Does the EFF, however, think that the 15 months or left before next year's election is enough to change the perception by some that it rather belongs in opposition benches and not necessarily within government, national and provincial? Thanks.
Thank you. This is Natasha from the Financial Mail. I have 2 questions. The first is on coalitions toward the 2024 election. It's clear that the stance of the EFF has changed with its entry into government. My question is around whether we're going to see the EFF sign formal coalition agreements next year, a move which you resisted in the past. The other question is around the Electoral Amendment Act. Is the EFF comfortable with the act that was passed by Parliament this week? And do you think that President Ramaphosa should sign it into law? Thank you.
Hi, Liz Gatandra from the Mail and Guardian, and some of my questions have been asked. I just wanted you to elaborate, Mr. Malema, on the challenge that you've had in attracting women into your membership. What exactly has your research told you is the reason behind this challenge? In terms of polling, you've said that the EFF has now surpassed the Malema brand. But in terms of next year's polling, can you share what your research has taught you around your prospects for next year? Mr. Malema, my other question lends itself to TD's question around so my other question lends itself to TD's question around yourself as the brand that surpasses the EFF. The EFF has remained, the ANC rather, has remained a thorn on the EFF side in terms of people viewing it as a faction of the ANC. You have, in so many occasions, kind of engaged in debate around the EFF and EFF factions, as you have just done now. Does this not hurt the EFF in terms of its image, in terms of the image that it wants to portray as independent or away from the ANC? Your view of this criticism that the EFF is a faction of the ANC. And with Natasha's question, in terms of coalitions, when I spoke to the DP a couple of months ago, he had said that in terms of the legislation around coalitions, that was something that you would be debating at the CCT. Is this something that you're still debating? Have you made any decisions around legislation of coalitions? Thank you.
Good afternoon. It's Mzwandi Mbeji from the SABC. I think I just want to phrase it properly. But they say mobilizing and perhaps recruiting is much easier than governing. So, given the fact that you've been able to mobilize so many members, I mean, you've just racked up about 1 million members now, so which by any stretch of imagination should be commendable. In the event, you then get into government. So how confident are you that the kind of personnel you have would be able to carry out that which you have well articulated? I mean, you've just spoken about things that are basic, but also interestingly, you've actually picked up that perhaps people are generally the same in terms of approach. You've picked up already that as much as people are EFF and very willing, but they actually are looking beyond those resources. So how confident are you that the kind of the cadres that you have recruited will be able to actually do totally different from what the ANC is doing? Because, I mean, you've put it so well. It doesn't matter where you are in the country. The country is just collapsing. And then there are people who are tasked with the responsibility of governing. And those people come from the communities. So what is it in terms of the mindset that you will do as EFF to change that? Thanks.
It was Mutibe, this side.
Thank you, Mudibe from the Inside Factor. I want to touch on the issue of the EFF Student Command. As the party grows 10 years, at one point you referred it as a baby within a baby. And we've seen with the EFF Student Command, especially those who come from the Fees Must Fall, there were people like Vuyane that you've given positions to lead. There's Sinao, there's Naledi Chira you've taken to Parliament. There's people like Ntando Sindan who have managed to grow from the party who are now in academia, and people like Mpomorolwane who are now in the union space. Are you happy with the caliber of the kind of leadership that the EFF Student Command is producing for the party in the future? Thank you.
Number 7 was Kaya. We'll come back to you, Tidi.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Kasi Tole. I'm fully awake today, so don't stress about that. So my question is, 10 years ago, when you first came up with your 7 cardinal pillars and that informed your initial manifesto, there were obviously a couple of issues that at that point in time introduced, I think, a new sense of deliberation in the political system in the country. You came out in particular very strong on the idea of nationalization and the fact that the state was best placed to address the resource misallocation issues of the past. Since then, unfortunately, we've spent the past 10 years being exposed to the flaws of state ownership and how the state has been mismanaged by the party that's in power right now. And as you look forward to the next general election, and that remains one of your cardinal pillars, how do you plan on reconciling the social anxieties associated with the fact that everybody just has seen that when the state is in charge, things collapse, things fall apart, and the fact that you still need the voters to come out and support a manifesto that you'll build up based on your cardinal pillars when everybody has lost faith in the idea of state ownership in particular? That's the one part. The secondary part is that the past 10 years represented perhaps the moment where the questions around the land sins and the land injustices were something that everybody believed needed to be decisively addressed. In those 10-year periods, you've made some significant steps in tackling that question. Unfortunately, it seems that after the 2017 Nasrec conference of the ANC, that political capital seems to have shifted back to the ANC. In other words, it seems to have been paralyzed, particularly in the parliamentary processes. Whilst that remains one of your cardinal pillars, how do you plan on going to the electorate next year and still managing to convince, particularly new voters, that this is still a dream that can be achieved in our lifetime? And I think the reason I'm phrasing those questions is I believe from the 26th of July onwards, you're probably going to be marching towards the question of what the general election manifesto is going to look like. And of course, the past 10 years have indicated what the party believes in. But when we engage voters next year, and new voters in particular, the question of reconciling what the EFF's cardinal pillars are and what the EFF believes versus the reality of what we've seen, which of course is not the doing of the EFF in particular, that to me looks like a bit of a challenge that you're going to have to deal with. Thank you.
Tsidi.
Thank you for indulging me. Just a very quick one. Julius, what if Cyril Ramaphosa does resign? Because ultimately, though, while he might be at the helm, in essence, is not pegged as the issue. The whole ANC that's still in government, we're still, 15 odd months away from an election. What happens? Just indulge me on that. Thank you.
President.
Thank you very much. Someone told me there's a new editor there at Newsroom, and they couldn't explain properly that it was you. Now I see why you have been giving the SABC run for their money. Because since you came there, the SABC is very cooperative because it can see competition now. I don't know if it's Newsroom or it's Mushwesho, but something is happening, because the way you are covering us now as SABC has extremely improved. And I've been asking myself, what's happening here? So is Mzwandi, is not Mushwesh, or is not a Newsroom? Because the Newsroom has tried, by the way, to cover the whole country. We are inspired by the July 26 movement, both ideologically and what they did. Because you will know that the July 26 movement, led by Commandant Fidel and Che Guevara, ushered in a socialist government in Cuba. And they defeated Batista and made Cuba an exemplary country of what happens when you put humanity before profit. And that's what inspires us ideologically. But their fearless character also inspires us, because if you look at the number of men that Fidel and Che had when they engaged the colonialist government of Cuba at the time led by Batista, you will never have thought that such a small number of people can defeat an establishment such as the one we had in Cuba, characterized by gangsterism, prostitution, drugs, and its close proximity to the USA. And you would have expected that if these people are advancing in a manner that threatens the US interest, perhaps they may intervene in the defense of Batista. But the determination and the discipline and the consciousness of the people at the time made it possible. So in all respect will follow what these guys have done. We have on repeated occasions, and because we have to pass this liberal constitution to register as a political party, we say in the EFF constitution and the founding manifesto that we will use every means necessary to attain our freedom. And means necessary means guns. But you can't write guns there because that Zondo will not approve the registration of this political party, because it will say, hey, we can't have a party like that. And we're not going to take up guns. It is the conditions which will make it possible for us to take up guns. No one is going to threaten our existence through guns, and we keep on protesting with posters. So, but you can't win that if you don't conscientize society. In the absence of these numbers we are talking about, which 1 million must be converted into quality, and that quality must go and conscientize society. Because if we don't do that with the masses of our people at the back of the EFF, we are a terrorist organization. We are Boko Haram. So we don't want to be a Boko Haram. We want to be a political party that enjoys the support of its people through conscience. So we sent to our people on the 20th of March, let's go and show our dissatisfaction. Why is it like that? We cannot just sit back and behave like everything is okay. It is the masses through rising that they will be able to tell the government that we have reached a point where we can no longer tolerate this nonsense. But without those types of actions, government thinks it is on the right track. So we need to conscientize the masses, because the masses are going to say, but why the 20th of March? Why are we doing what we are doing? Then we start talking to them and saying to them, the country is going down. The country is collapsing. And therefore, if you don't rise in the defense of the country, it's gone. It is 20th of March. It is a peaceful protest. All of us will be there. And no one must dare do what they did on the 21st of March, when our people were demanding that these passes must be done away with. If they dare do that, then they are creating conditions for arms to be picked up. There is nothing wrong, absolutely nothing wrong, in political space for arms to be taken up. If the conditions refuse a free democratic participation, where people express themselves without fear of persecution and death, then we're left with no option. No one says no one must take up guns. No one says we're going to take up guns. But if the conditions dictate, and we've got the support of our people, we'll definitely not hesitate to take up arms and fight for our country, because that's the only option we will be left with. And we will not be the first one, by the way. Mandela did it. When he fought throughout peacefully, the ANC did it. When they fought peacefully, when conditions dictated for them to take up arms, they didn't hesitate. They took up arms, and they did exactly that. You know, the coalitions, we've always supported the coalitions, by the way. We've never had a problem. We put the conditions of our participation. We said, we will go into coalition with you if you meet the following. And we still insist on that, by the way. That's why we are not in coalition with anyone. We are not in coalition. The formality, the signing of agreements and how we are going to work is going to be preceded by what is going to happen, what will be the agreement on the issues we have put forward. So we are not going to get into any coalition if we can agree on these conditions that are not beneficial to individuals but are beneficial to all. You know, when President Ramaphosa became president, I'm not sure if I told you this, we went to see him at his house at, not in his, the official residences in Cape Town. Yeah, it was me and Floyd. It was just the three of us. And before we started the discussion, we said to him, we should not, throughout this discussion, mention giving each other positions. Must never talk about positions. If you talk about positions, we're going to walk out here. And we spoke about issues that affect this country and the possible solutions which can be provided. When we removed Zuma and he came in, that's what we spoke about. Typical ANC guy, because we're from there was no way he was not going to talk about positions. Then he said to us, no man, I was thinking, I know you said we must not talk about that, but if you and Floyd can just come in. We said, you see now, we are going to walk away from this meeting because we are not yet to talk about positions. So in the conditions that we put everywhere, positions have never been our conditions. And if we're opportunistic the way we're described by many, would have accepted a lot of opportunistic positions that were offered to us in different capacities, including, by the way, in the negotiations for coalitions. When we were raising issues, the ANC was saying, take that municipality, we will take. We said, no, before we arrive there, let's first agree on these principles. And we couldn't agree. We went our separate ways. The same happened to DA. We couldn't agree. We went our different ways. So when you describe us as a group of opportunistic people who could not find their way in the ANC, they want to use this to uplift themselves in society. What do you mean when we have had so many chances in the past 10 years, including money, by the way, including money? There was a group of Jews who said to me, 50 million, you walk away from politics. I said, what am I going to do? Because I can't even be a bank teller or anything of that sort. Politics, I can't walk away from politics. So, we've refused all of that, sticking to these principles that we're talking about. The Electoral Act that was passed, we're very happy with it. We don't have a problem. We formally even supported it in Parliament. So they can, he must sign it. Ramaphosa, remember we have a constitutional court decision. And we have to make sure that we adhere to those things and allow these individuals to participate. Zaki Ahmad said he's going to stand as an independent candidate. Let him come. You will realize when he's there that it's the most boring place when you are alone. That one of Cope, Tara and Willie Madisha, they don't speak to each other. It's very boring for them. They go past each other like that. They don't consult. So imagine you are alone, just like that. It's not easy. How many are we? 44. We fight like nobody's business. It's not easy to get a brilliant idea through, just to get it through. They refuse it in an unreasonable manner. I can imagine what these individuals are going to do. There, what works is numbers. In the absence of numbers, there is nothing you can do. You are just setting up these individuals for failure. But that's what democracy is about. If people want to choose an individual, let them feel free to do so, but they will not have an impact. They won't. You argue there with some mama there of the ANC. She doesn't argue. She doesn't say anything. But no, let's put it to vote. She just raised her hand like this. You have lost. The second time she's going to participate is when she takes a bag and put those food of the committee in the bag. That's what they do. And then they go home. You lost a brilliant idea. Lost, gone. And then 3 minutes. What are you going to say in 3 minutes? What to speak? And it's not going to be 3 minutes, by the way. It's 3 minutes for political parties with the small parties, right, to participate in a debate. With individuals now coming in, which means now more slot must be created. The likelihood of smaller parties getting less 3 minutes and you getting a minute because it's you. 1 minute, one you. What are you going to say in that? They struggle, those small parties, to say something meaningful. 3 minutes. Imagine one individual. So our constitution allows that. We must allow it to happen. The EFF attracting women. Ordinarily, women are not just amenable to things they don't know. They will want to see if, is this real? Is this speaking to our interests? Do we feel represented here? And that's why you will struggle to get the majority to vote for you. Because the majority is the women. You must first stand the test of time. And once you pass the test of time, you'll have it easy with women coming in to say, this is our organization, this is what we have been waiting for. From its inception, the EFF embraced women's leadership. At this place, women were there. One of them was Leanne. She was showing off her pictures today, that she was there 10 years ago in this hall. Always said in its delegation and representatives needs 50% representation of women. And we have always known that this organization will be women-led and will be having a lot of women, because it has never been formed on anti-women stance. It has always embraced the women. And majority of parliamentarians are women. And if you go percentage-wise, the EFF has got more women representation percentage-wise in terms of all public representatives than all political parties. So we have been a pro and a women's organization, and from this 49, the only 9%, the only thing awaiting us is to increase. Our own polling said the ANC is going to get 45, the DA 16, EFF 13, and that was in November. It was conducted by Ipsos, by the not internal EFF Mbuiseni Institute research. Ipsos. I don't understand why that research was not shared with the public. It's there. The negativity, the positivity, all of that is there. We have nothing to hide. In November, when load shedding was not stage 6, just before the ANC conference, in the absence of election mood, the EFF polled at 13% and the DA at 16 and the ANC at 45. There will be another research conducted in March, internal EFF research, which will also share with everyone. Guys, governance, to get it right, you don't need anything. You need to punish corruption. Corruption is not punishable in South Africa. Corruption has got eyes. Corruption is prosecution of corruption has got eyes and is selective. You ought to punish corruption. That's how the Chinese got it right. You are not going to get it right if there are not going to be special courts like the 2010 special courts that are going to be exclusively for corruption, speedily and decisively. You do that within a short space of time. A lot of these people who want to commit corruption in society, they will know that corruption is punishable. The last prominent case of corruption we had was John Block. And when was that? So it can be that Corruption goes unpunished, and we say, no, what can you do differently? We must punish corruption. Leaders of the EFF found with their hands in a cookie jar must be punished to discourage the rest of others who are coming after them to do the same things. You punish corruption because corruption is what leads to laziness. I heard the mayor of eThekwini saying the workers of eThekwini are lazy. Sure, they are lazy, I agree with him, because they were hired through factional arrangement. Those people who must work on sewer spillage into the beaches and all of that are ANC volunteers who were hired in the name of going to deal with sewer, with cleaning streets. No, they are paying them to go and do election campaign for the ANC through municipal money. That's why you can't get those workers to go and do what they were doing. Here, when Mashaba came DP, he closed something that had a lot of volunteers. They were from Alex, a lot of Josie at work. When you go, none of you went to research, because that research is very simple. We need, from a municipal, give us list of these Josie at work workers, their names and their addresses, whatever. We want to see. Go and check them one by one. Those are ANC Youth League, ANC members who do the factional campaigning for the individuals who are in power in the ANC and who do an election campaign for the ANC. Panyaza announced now, where's the chairperson of the EFF here? I sent that an advertisement of Panyaza of going to hire 6,000 what are they going to do? Public safety and I knew, I told them, I said, there's no hiring on public safety here. These are ANC volunteers. They are hiring them for 2024. Now they took those kids, went to dump them somewhere. Some of them are going home because it's not a proper school, no food, no proper accommodation. There was no thorough planning in that 6,000 recruitment. They are taking ANC volunteers. Is those things of EPWP? It was ANC volunteers, because this illegal campaign we are talking about, Mzwandini, is ANC. If I'm an EPWP worker and we are working here in Polokwane, I should be able to say to my colleagues, but there's a problem there when you enter Shiu of a dumping area. Then go there to go and work. No, that is not their job. They get paid for going to campaign for the ANC. You can go and check them, all of them, one by who are these 6,000 people that Panyaza recruited? Where do they come from? What is the affiliation of their member? You're going to find these are ANC members that are hired to go and campaign for the ANC. Student command cadres, that's what we should be proud of. We need to put more effort to produce more cadres that we can deploy into society. I mean, if you look at the Mpomo Rulanis Union, is doing well, and now even participating in councils against the ANC Nehau-related cadres. We need to get us more cadres from the student command, because that's where you produce your second and third layer leadership. Then that guarantees longevity for the existence of the EFF. 7 cardinal pillars, they will never be out of fashion. Not even the ANC 2017 conference can make them irrelevant. They tried and went to sponsor some expropriation of land with compensation and without compensation on the rotten land, and you can see that you will never replace that. The land question today constitutes the core of every debate you can think of. The Judge President of Western Cape spoke about this land issue way after 2017. Everybody else who wants to fight the regime, the first thing they do They tell them about the land and say, look at the patterns of land ownership in South Africa and want to tell us we've won. So you can be guaranteed the EFF 7 non-negotiable cardinal pillars will constitute the core of every election manifesto of the EFF and become relevant. You can go to every young person, even in the private schools. When they lose an argument against a white person, the first thing they say is, you stole our land. Yeah, because they know that it hits where it matters the most. And that's a reality we'll never go away from until we resolve the land question. The state is not inherently corrupt and incapacitated. No. I said to you, fight corruption and the greedy capitalist agenda. We used to deliver more tons of coal to Richards Bay through Transnet. When a ton of coal was cheap, the ton of coal now is very expensive. Very good opportunity for coal industry in South Africa to try to take coal to Richards Bay and sell to these people and still feed ourselves with the same coal. We are delivering way less than what we used to deliver when coal was cheap. We should be delivering more now because it means more money for our country. Transnet has been incapacitated. Leave Zuma alone. If it was true it's Zuma who broke that, these guys have been in power since Zuma left now. Why didn't they fix it? Why didn't they fix PRASA? If it was broken by Zuma and not the ANC. So leave Zuma alone. There is just generally incapacity that comes with being a cadre of the ANC. Now, let me tell you, my sister, they say we're part of the faction of the ANC. That's why we speak about the ANC. Firstly, that's an attempt to silence us. Secondly, I grew up, maybe even today, I don't know how Botha looks like. I don't know how Malan looks like. I don't know how Verwoerd looks like. I know how de Klerk looks like. But the leaders of the ANC who addressed us during apartheid, they made sure to speak about National Party. They made sure to speak about Malan Verwoerd, to speak about Botha, because they were incumbent government at the time. How are we going to criticize this government if we can't speak about it? How are we going to show the weaknesses of this government if we can't speak about it? Mokaba never finished his speech without speaking about de Klerk, without speaking about the National Party. We knew those people before we knew their ugly faces. Today we are doing the same thing they did to the apartheid regime. We are doing it to them. Then they say, why are they talking about us? But you are talking about apartheid, Mus. You are talking about de Klerk. Why shouldn't we talk about Cyril? They want to tell you how you must fight them. They can try with others, not with us. We are going to talk about them, and that doesn't make us part of any faction. When Cyril came, you said, yeah, these are people, Cyril's people. These are anti-Zuma's people. After Zuma, they are going to become relevant. We had 1 million members after Zuma. Irrelevant people after Zuma. We are going to become irrelevant after Zuma. We got 1 million members after Zuma. We did not get 1 million members during Zuma. So what happened to becoming irrelevant when Zuma leaves? They were trying to silence us at that time not to talk about Zuma. Saying, yeah, when Zuma leaves, they are gone. There's no such thing. We'll talk about the ANC. So, if Cyril Ramaphosa resigns, the ANC cabinet, all of it goes with him. They must get a new president and get a new cabinet. That will demonstrate 15 months before elections if they are serious about resolving the problems or not. It could be that it is just digging further the hole when you are inside the hole. So we know that they've got no capacity, none whatsoever. If Cyril goes, there's nothing left of them. and some of them won't even come back because their faction would have lost to Cyril. They are keeping Cyril days because they are eating through Cyril. So be rest assured, the ANC is going to enter elections at its weakest, with or without Cyril. But we cannot fold our arms and say we're waiting for 15 months to come. We are dying now. We're not going to die in the next 15 months, and we have to put a stop to this. Today, the Reta is being accused of this and that. We said this long time ago, that the guy did not run the company he came from. Nampak, which Tito Mboweni was part of. Tito Mboweni, remember, this person was brought by Tito Mboweni, by the way. Brought his friend from Nampak, who failed dismally. Brought him here. We said, no, this is wrong. Look at us where we are today. We are effectively in stage 8, and they don't announce it. Because those things of stage 6 is going this time, coming this time, it's no longer working. We don't know. You don't know when is the electricity going, when is the electricity coming back. So we are in stage 8, if there is anything of that sort. What is left now is for this thing to be officially collapsed, where it's no longer generating electricity. Look at how funding is allocated. Transmission and distribution. They're not funding generation. And that's what matters. It's not funding generation. If you don't fund generation, it's going to collapse. What is going to happen? Municipalities that have got a smaller capacity to generate, they will generate for their citizens, and there's going to be private individuals who are now going to sell, like it happened before, by the way. It's not for the first time. Before the formation of ESCOM, there were pockets here, pocket there of selling electricity. In electricity, we're going back there. Dark days are coming because they are going to collapse the grid. From there, we're done. We're going to have to make a plan. If you have money like Jay-Z, you go and build a huge generator and then sell for your section there and say, guys, I'm going to connect all of you, but you have to pay me. So we are heading for a big trouble. And the ANC today says, no, we don't know what you are talking about. That man called Gwede, remember, he was in the commission, the guy with the cameras. When you say, hey, we have rescued NPA from capture, why is Gwede not charged for the cameras of Busasa? Why? Why are the Busasa culprits not charged till to date, despite evidence being there, despite Gwede accepting that, yes, the cameras were installed there by me? And then Tabam Makwet, who says, I'm still waiting for invoice. What type of an excuse is that? After how many years of installing cameras? Nomvula never refused to eating chickens. Why is he not charged? But we are all accepting, hey, NPA is now independent. No, there's no such a thing. Corruption is not punishable in South Africa. That's what leads to state incapacity. Our state has been paralyzed and collapsed by corruption. I mean, that Sibuke municipality, Mfuleni, they hire by surname, they hire friends, they hire comrades. As a result, Mfuleni can't do the most basic. Because if he ran a mujolo, or wo jola luo, wo roba luo, I'll take the TLB and go and remove. But what else I jiwen? Take it when? Hey, no one can tell anyone anything. That's when you have lost control. There is a municipal manager there in Mkopan who's trying to restore that municipality which was corrupt to the core and collapsed. The guy arrived there. These workers who are hired through comradeship, they don't want to work and all of that. When he pushes them, they go on illegal strike. He fired all of them. They went to court. They lost in court. Till today, he hasn't hired them back. It's not a case that he says, no, I'm not going to allow that nonsense. You are going to work here. Because they are used to that nonsense of telling politicians what to do. Why? They sit together in the branch meetings. And you depend on them to continue to be a mayor of that municipality. We have to fire. And that's what we're going to do in the Johannesburg public safety, in health, in Ikuruleni, every MMC that we are going to take over. You are going to work, otherwise we're going to fire you. We're not going to beg ANC rotten public servants. If they go on strike illegal, we fire them, all of them, hack. And we hire fresh people who are going to work. The leadership, the political leadership must have the will and work and not be scared to take charge. We have taken charge now. Everybody is making calls. Please, please, please protect the MMC of public safety in Johannesburg, because the things that you guys are doing there in Hillbrow, he's going to be killed. We don't want to know who's the drug lord here. We don't want to know who hijacked this building. It is hijacked. We enter it, take out all those people. Close it down. We don't care. We are not part of drugs. We are not part of criminal syndicates. That's why we can confront these criminals, irrespective of their nationality. A criminal is a criminal. When we entered there, we found that clinic which was not working. In Zandspruit, comrades, a clinic is not working because a generator is broken. Generator is broken, and therefore medication cannot be put in a cold room, and they close the clinic. When we arrive there, we think there is a big problem. Generator, it needs a service. Generators, from time to time, they get service. Just for the generator to be serviced so that the clinic can continue serving our people. No one has ever run a story about how we found a collapsed generator, not because it's broken, because it's not being serviced. And the municipality has got service providers on a database that must be called, not a tender, to submit 3 quotations, accept one, go and service that generator. Don't wait for it to actually collapse, because they tell you, generators these days, that it's time for service. Zandspruit. Then we must go on with a person who was responsible for that generator. We need to know who was responsible to servicing that generator, and he must be fired. He didn't service the generator because he was busy singing. They were singing ANC songs. We need to find a person who was supposed, because in China that person would have been killed. You know why? So many people died because of that generator not being serviced. In China they would have killed him because he's a murderer. So we told our MMC, get to the bottom of this. We need to know who was responsible for the servicing of the generator and did not service it, and discipline them according to the laws of South Africa. We are not going to be subjected to cadre deployment, where the ANC in the last council wanted to bring a former HOD of public safety through a back door without talking to the EFF that is heading that public safety. When you go to check, why was this person suspended? Why is being brought back through a back door? It's a cadre deployment. We said nonsense. No cadre deployment under the EFF here. This person, before he's reinstated, we want to know why was he suspended in the first place. And if the reasons are genuine, he must be subjected to all the processes. And if he's going to be fired, let him be fired. We don't care if he's a senior cadre or he knows how to sing the loudest in the ANC. We're not part of that nonsense. We are about giving our people quality service. And that's what our people are going to get. Thank you, sir. I think you finished everyone.
Thank you, President. I think everyone should be covered. We'll hand over to the national chairperson to take us through the program. Thank you very much.
No, but we're here. Anyone who wants to talk or take something forward, we're here. All the officials, the leadership of the EFF is here. The president of the student command is going because they are used to going to toilet in between the classes. So he has been sitting for too long. Now he's going outside. You want to know about the student command? He's here. So we want to spend some time with you here. We hope when you leave here, you'll have a better understanding of what the EFF is about. Mbuyiseni threatened exhibition after this, so want to see if indeed he can exhibit. He's got the capacity to exhibit. So, yeah, okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much, President, and thank you very much to media personnel. Just like the President have already alluded, Sila Asindao. Anything you want to know. So earlier today, I wanted to check with my history at 10 years. Uba Indonesia in the exciter when I was 10. Because being 10, it means that it's a new era in your life. Now I was thinking about a journey of me being in standard 2 at the time. So my excitement was the fact that ngizobhala pen, not a pencil anymore. So, yeah, because the elder ones, every time they come to us, the young ones, and search our bags and find a pencil, like, she's a baby. Now when they find a pen, they're like, no, she's more of an intermediate. Don't worry, we must coach them properly, these ones. But most importantly is when I was asking a pen from my grandmother, I said, please buy me a blue pen and a red pen. There were no black pens at that time that were used in our schools. So she brings me a blue pen and not a red pen. As but makulu. So if you red pen, no. A red pen is for the teacher to mark you and show you ba ukubanjani. Now it's your time, media, to take a red pen. Tell us ukubanjani, what must we correct, where are our wrongs. In fact, the negatives you are asking, bring them to us. Let's see our negatives, let's engage. Now we're going to call upon Commissar Mbuyiseni at the back to take us through the next phase of today of the exhibition. Commissar Mbuyiseni, please come up and please take us through the next phase, what's gonna be the journey looking like. Then from there we'll follow Commissar Mbuyiseni. Woza ba.
Okay, thank you very much, National Chairperson. The mic is President and the officials, members of the CCT, members of the media. We are going to take you through the exhibition and we will speak at the exhibition. So you are all welcome to now follow me. What too many, I don't know. It's a very large group. So maybe it's not standard that I must take you. You can consume it yourself, make your own interpretation of what it means and how it touches you. But we can take the first group out. We're gonna start at the door of the entrance there, and then you'll come back to eat, I'm told, after that. So you can follow me. The fooding question is Lisa, I don't but I'm told after I take you through there, the food is ready. And the drinks, yes. Yeah, and there's very credible artists that are also going to perform. That's entertainment.